With playing McDavid and Draisaitl together, these injuries that have happened, would you say you're more or less likely to keep them together, or got to split them up for some depth? Or what are you thinking tonight, Coach?
Well, we'll see what the lineup brings tonight.
When you're missing guys the way you are, it's opportunity for certain players, maybe to play elevated up the lineup and such. How do you feel some of these players are positioned to step in and execute?
Well, what an opportunity it is for some people. I think every player craves more. Every player craves more. They want to play more. They want to play more on privileged ice time, on special teams, that type of thing. And when there are injuries, what happens is it's that next man up philosophy, but ice time has opened up. And I think it's important to make sure that we're not asking anybody to be anything they're not. We just want them to bring the what separates them as a player to the table this evening, and there is ice time available. So we're open for business on who wants it.
Jay, when you think of James Hamlin's story, what comes to mind?
Well, I saw James as when he first came into the organization on an American League deal in Bakersfield. It did a little bit of background work. It was during the pandemic year where we played about half of a year, and I saw a guy come in. He wasn't the biggest guy in the world, but he was somebody who just kept showing up, doing good things on the ice in the video sessions. Somebody who worked hard and gradually increased his role and responsibility on that team that went on to win the Pacific Division Championship. The next year, I saw somebody take a step, somebody who did all the necessary things on his development path to earn an NHL contract. I saw somebody come into NHL training camp this year and make it until the very last day. So James, his path to get to the NHL might not be typical, but it was his path, and he's a hardworking guy, and I'm happy that he earned his first NHL recall.
What word would you use to describe James Hamblin and his ability to carve out this pro career and this recall yesterday?
Yeah, he's relentless. He's a relentless person, driven to be the best that he can be and maximize the potential that he has as a hockey player.
James, Tyler, and Stuart played Bantam together 10 years ago for the Southside Athletic. How crazy is it to think that 10 years later, the three of them are sitting in that room over there?
Yeah, it's amazing. Isn't hockey a small world? What a great story that is. And they've all had different journeys to get to that room. I think it's special. And I think, one thing that doesn't get mentioned, James was an undrafted free agent signing by first the Bakersfield Condors, then the Edmonton Oilers. That's a credit to the people that went out and have found him. And it's a credit to him to get here. So just a shout out to our good people in our scouting department, and obviously for the program that Keith runs down in Bakersfield to identify James as being someone that can, help the NHL club. And I think that's a real positive situation when you see that type of push from underneath like that.
Jay, you kind of touched on that James Hamlin, that is, which kind of show up in highlights and thing. Mm-hmm. What kind of came to mind when you saw that? I mean, obviously somebody who was kind of getting the coach's message, but what, somebody that you didn't know a lot about, how did that kind of strike you early on, I guess? Yeah, well, I think it's a good lesson for young coaches is to make sure that you coach with your eyes and not just your ears. And what do I mean by that? I mean that you don't always worry about what's being said about certain people or whatnot. You use those two things that God gave you, your eyes, and you make sure you're paying attention, and you reward people that are doing things the right way. I think that's important, is to link rewards and performance. And for James, as I said, he started out as almost a bit player on that
that team, and he slowly worked his way up into increased responsibility. By the time we were playing in the final game of the year with everything on the line, he was a real important player, and then he took a big step over the summertime. Last year, he turned into, I think, a 20-goal scorer at the American League level. He earned that NHL contract. So what do I think? I think he's someone who went through the process the right way, and good on the organization for rewarding him.
You mentioned relentlessness.
Yeah.
But like he's the guy that looks like, when you see him in the dressing room, there's, not very big and maybe not the fastest guy. What's the best thing that he does that allows him to have the success that he does in terms of maybe a skill on the ice?
Yeah, well, I don't think you get to the NHL without that mindset of being relentless at his size. He's not somebody, sometimes there's, high-end draft picks that are 6'5" and 6'4", and it takes them a little while to figure things out. With James, he doesn't have that luxury. He's had to figure it out right from the get-go. I think he has his best asset as a player. He is a relentless person, but as a player, he's someone that is gifted with a high hockey IQ, so he gets to the right spots on the ice, and that goes to how you kept seeing him in the right spots in the video.
Jake, confidence can change a lot for a player. And, when Bouchard scored his first goal, that second goal might have been blocked 2 weeks ago for reasons unexplained. Do you see that as a coach, even maybe Holloway, Bouchard, those guys, when all of a sudden you get that goal that's been a long time coming, do you see the instant change in a player, confidence?
Yeah, I think you use the words "a long time coming." I've seen steps along the way. I don't think for Evan, the first 20 games would have went according to his script of what he envisioned the start to this season as being. But he's been working hard at his game, and you knew he's shown it in the past. That he can get his shots through, get it past that first layer. You knew that it was just a matter of time, and confidence, I think he stands a little taller when one goes in like that. Now, the irony of that, both of those goals went in with great screens, and they were from the other player that you mentioned there, in Dylan Holloway. So, what we tell our D-men is, I'll take care of getting our forwards to the front of the net. Your job's to get it there and get it past that first shot blocker. It was nice to see them get the result, and for sure, I think they stood a little taller after they were awarded.
You've talked a lot about how, positioning something you wanted to focus on, specifically in front of the net. On the first goal, Philip Broberg's reaction right away, I think you could tell, he was on the wrong side of the play.
Yep.
Do you even mention that again then as a coach when the player obviously knows clearly based on his reaction that he made an error? Or how do you coach a situation where the player already knows he made an error?
Well, I think if you saw how that played out afterwards, I think he was on the ice 2 shifts later. So you can say whatever you want. You have to display that type of confidence. We've had some young players make some mistakes this year. It's part of learning the way the league works here. But I think when you're willing to put them back on the ice, you're displaying a level of confidence in them. Do we talk about those situations? Yeah, we talk about being net heavy quite a lot. In that one specific play, there was one error. It ended up in the back of our net. You learn from it, you move on. And I thought Philip played a pretty good game the rest of the way.
And injury bug seems to have been creeping in here. Bad time in McLeod has a 3-assist period, and now he's out. Fogle hasn't skated in 2 days. And Yamamoto, you have an update on we know that Yamamoto and McLeod are on IR. Yamamoto's retro, which means he can be back this week. Do you expect him, Yamamoto, that is, this week?
I would say Yamamoto is more day-to-day than week-to-week. I think it's positive that he was on the ice with the team yesterday and today. He's put in good work. Ultimately, he's got to get cleared in order to come off that IR. But I think he's going in the right direction here. And then obviously Benson, who was down below, is back from his conditioning stint as well, and is he's been activated as well.
And Fogle, do you have an update on his status?
Yeah, I think Fogel's more day-to-day than he is anything longer term.
Jay, even without his goal contribution, I think we can agree that Dylan Holloway had his most effect Saturday. What qualities did you see Holloway in that game that allowed him to be so good?
I thought he skated well. I thought he looked dangerous with the puck on his stick. He had a really good chance in the second period that he just missed on. I thought that line did some good things. I think he has a natural chemistry. He's played with Brad Malone going back to his time in Bakersfield, so he had some chemistry with him. And you know, I was happy to see him put one in against a real good goaltender. We were talking about Evan Bouchard standing a little taller for sure. Dylan Holloway would be standing taller after that goal.
Jay, just one last one, not in reference to the game per se, but the evening in honor of the Indigenous peoples. It is something the Oilers have been discussing for quite a while, and I know there's a great sort of relationship between the organization and Indigenous peoples. What can you say about how far this has come and how honored you and the team are to be involved in something like this? Very honored for this type of special night. I think our organization does a heck of a job with the land acknowledgement before every game, understanding and bringing some information to people regarding you know, our heritage as a community and you know, I think putting important emphasis on recognizing how important the Indigenous community is to the community of Edmonton, and to have a night like this, for me, I think it's special not only for our city and our organization, but certainly for the coaches and the players.